Welcome to the dark side of Beastwriter. I'm your host, Ryan Sakamoto, and we are on for another Pick 6 at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time live stream. We are hopping on a little bit earlier today. It's 5 p.m. because we have a special guest, my good friend, my mentor, and really needs no introduction. You guys know who he is. For all you Niner fans, some of you guys Raiders fans should know who he is. One of the best offensive linemen to ever suit up for the red and gold, arguably the best offensive lineman ever to suit up under the glory days, and that is my guy, Randy Cross. Randy, are you there?
Yes, I am.
How you doing today, Randy?
I'm doing good. I'm doing really good. It's almost.
Are you there? Let's see if Randy's there. Randy, you there? All right, I think we're having problems with Randy's audio here, but hey, that's the whole thing, right? Everyone sees the front end of it, thinks it's easy. It's not. It's hard. Doing these live streams are not easy. So yeah, we're gonna try Randy to hop back on in a few minutes, but let's just go ahead and get those likes up. There's a few people watching here. Let's like the video before we start. Because Randy Cross was such a great player anchoring the Niners line. Yeah, he was. Yaha Haramaki says, "Yo, Beast, been a while since I catched live. Salute Nation." And yeah, there's like I said, there's a few things going on today. We want to discuss OTAs. Okay, so let me just see. Randy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, cool. Okay, so again, no introduction needed. For all you guys know, this is Randy Cross. His audio is working, but the visual is not. And I was explaining to people don't know how hard it is sometimes. Just to live stream a podcast is not easy. Like, if you saw the setup that I have here, it looks very generic, but it's like there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of wires. There's all this other crap going on here. I have another ring light in the back here that I just added today. There's all these different USB ports that I have to plug in to different outlets, and I'm using all 4 of my outlets here. It's ridiculous. So yeah, anyways, how you doing today, Randy?
I'm doing good. It's we're getting close. We're getting real close to real football season again. I think once teams go back for summer workouts, it's officially football season.
Let's talk about that. So obviously you played for the Niners for many years in the 70s, 80s. Can you explain to us what it was like then compared to now as far as OTAs and minicamp and how that kind of dynamic kind of worked in the offseason program?
Well, there were a lot of differences. I think probably the most significant one is there was no limit on full pad days. In fact, full pad days back then were encouraged all the time. My rookie year, I started on the 5th of July, and we had a month of double days before the first preseason game. And we had 4 preseason games before we broke camp. We had 14 regular season games, so we had 6 preseason games back then. So you had a month of training camp, then you broke camp for after you were back at the facility for the last 2 preseason games, but it was still double days in.
You know, in high school we can't do double days. I remember, and double days is like usually the hardest part because it's like August. It's where it's the hottest part of the year. We can't have double days in high school anymore because people were literally dying, and so now I don't think you can have double days anymore. But I guess that's the difference between back then and now is like the science behind everything is so crazy. But at the end of the day, it's like this. Like, I don't know. I'm an old school type of a guy, so I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it, Randy. It's like a tough guy mentality. Does that make sense? I don't know. How to explain it.
I mean, I'm tempted just to default to the old fart mentality and say we're getting soft as hell.
No, for sure, absolutely.
I think the smart thing the NFLPA and the NFL did years ago is they altered the rules, and B, they altered the practice schedules and practice rules, and I think that's a good thing. You don't need I mean, once we got to be a good team, once we had won a Super Bowl or so, Bill Walsh never made us practice in full pads. We'd bring our shoulder pads out there and do 9-on-7 and 1-on-1s and shoulder pads. But outside of that, I mean, the DBs never wore shoulder pads. The wide receivers never wore shoulder pads. You learned how to practice full speed, and you just didn't beat the life out of yourself. So by the time you got to December and January, you still had some pop left.
Yeah, you still had your legs. I mean, it's a long season. Okay, so obviously, news is that the Raiders signed Jimmy Garoppolo. Obviously, that is one of those things that I kind of wanted to discuss. Obviously, we both covered him with the 49ers. Now he's off here and followed me to the Raiders. What is your take on Jimmy Garoppolo, and do you think he will thrive under Coach McDaniels' scheme?
Well, it won't be foreign to him for sure, because as a Patriot, he's familiar with the system. Yeah, I don't know. People ask me, excuse me, people ask me about him all the time. All that guy does is win.
Yeah.
You know, is it flashy? No.
Right.
But he finds a way to win. He finds a way to make big plays. He finds a way to lead drives in the fourth quarter. So, you know, there's not much this guy does. Does he scramble real well for a lot of yards? No. But he can run the pass. He can get out and run on his side of the line of scrimmage and create things. But there's certain drawbacks that he has that, you know, that fans, at least the Niner fans, thought were unforgivable. And I think the Raider fans are going to love him. He's got the toys to play with. The guys on the offensive side, they're just going to have to protect him because, you know, he does have a tendency to break down once in a while if you can let him get beat up.
Which is why when you asked me during the Raiders what the Raiders were going to do, I said offensive lineman. I thought they were going to take Paris Johnson or Peter Skoronski. I thought they were one of those guys that, again, coming from San Francisco, that's how you build up and protect Jimmy Garoppolo. The blueprint's been set. They drafted right tackle Mike McGlinchey at number 9 overall. They went ahead and traded for, obviously, Trent Williams, the blindside left tackle, and then they also traded for Lincoln Tomlinson as their left guard. So for me, it was like the writing was on the wall to build that wall. Unfortunately, the Cardinals had other plans and jumped one pick ahead of the Raiders for Paris Johnson. I'm a firm believer in building teams from the inside out, not the outside in, and you know that. But let's go ahead and talk about that. Like in today's NFL, the way the rules are dictated today, as compared to when you played, how much is it more important to build teams from the inside out rather than the outside in, or does that even matter in today's NFL because it's a pass happy league and it's kind of basically flag football?
You know, I'm tempted to say, you know, it's 7-on-7. They just let the fat guys play.
Right.
But, you know, a team like the Philadelphia Eagles would dissuade you from that, the way they like to play defense, because they're an inside-out style of D. The Kansas City Chiefs are the same way with their presence inside. And I think that's something you've got to have. I mean, my old team, the Niners, you know, making the free agent signing they did, I think gives them some power and some pop inside to go with the guys on the outside. And everybody's got to have that. I think you've got to have that. Both sides of the line of scrimmage. It used to be you just built with your tackles on offense. I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, though offensive and defensive linemen seem to be, you know, high-paid sumo wrestlers these days. They are terribly athletic and can move like crazy, but they're big suckers.
Oh my gosh, Randy, you're hilarious. I agree with you. I think too many people put too much stock in a certain position rather than the positional unit. I think in order to be a good cohesive team, all parts on the positional unit have to kind of coexist and kind of build up that team chemistry in order to thrive under any offensive defensive scheme. In fact, Mike Mayock even said this. He said interior pressure is more valuable than edge pressure. And you said the big reason why is because usually when you're getting pressured from the blind side, the weak side, or even the strong side from the edge, you know it's coming, or you can kind of feel it's coming. If you're on the blind side, you can kind of roll your way out of it. Like Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, you know how they do that reverse spin out and the reverse pivot. But if you're getting interior pressure up front, like in the A or B gap, that just is going to create an added element to where the quarterback can't manipulate the pocket. He can't thrive and go left to right because obviously those edge rushers are already anchoring at that point, even if they're not getting home. And so then that puts the offense in the bind. So you played guard, you played center. Would you share that line of thinking that Mike Mayock kind of echoed in the sense that, interior pressure is just as valuable, if not more valuable than edge rushing presence?
Yeah. I mean, ask your newest junior owner there with the Raiders about how important inside pressure is, because the short list of games that Tom Brady was made to look human were against the Giants and a couple other teams that specialized in A and B gap pressure. And these defenses, I mean, these offenses right now, the way that they're getting rid of the ball, that's something if you've got somebody that's quick and can create havoc inside, you can disrupt offenses and you can get them off their timing. You don't even really have to screw them up from a standpoint of sack them. But if you get them off their timing, the offense just can't function as well, as it normally would. And that's something the timing is so critical. I mean, when you watch Kansas City, everybody loves Patrick Mahomes when he's throwing the ball, off his left hip and, behind his head and all this other stuff. But, he gets rid of that ball so damn fast. That's something that Jets fans are going to love about watching Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, he's smart. He's a Cal guy. He's an intelligent individual. He doesn't want to get hit. He's going to get rid of that sucker, and he gets rid of it fast.
No, absolutely. And I think in today's NFL, I think it's even more. Who I was talking to an edge rusher during the Pro Bowl. I forgot who it was. He told me the most frustrating thing that he has to deal with was that quick release, because he says, I can beat the guy in front of me. That's not a problem. But the release of when that quarterback throws, it does no justice. So I can beat the guy every single time. And it doesn't really matter because the ball's already out. The wide receiver already has the ball in his hands. So yeah, those quick dropbacks. And I think that's a huge it goes back to the Bill Walsh, right? Bill Walsh invented the West Coast offense. So let's talk about that a little bit and how that, I mean, you watch NFL games all the time, Randy. I mean, come on. We talk about it every single day that we get a chance to. And so can you just talk about what the West Coast offense means in today's NFL compared to, who invented it and playing for the great Bill Walsh and how that transcended into today's NFL?
Well, the West Coast offense is it's alive and well. And the easiest way to spot that is look at the lineage of some of the coaches that are in the league and where they have kind of descended from, and B, look at what they like to do. If you've got a coach that likes having a fullback, if you got a coach that loves having tight ends, if you have a coach that if that has a quarterback that can spin it like a devil, but if you don't stop the run, that guy's going to get bored because they're not even going to let the guy throw the ball. He's just going to pound you. And that's something that, not all coaches have the patience to do that, but that's one of the things that the West Coast offense was predicated on, was the ability to run the ball. And now we were going to run between point A and point B, and we were just going to smash you in the mouth, and we were going to dent our foreheads. No, we're smarter than that. Right. We'll run around you. We'll run through you. We'll do what Kyle Shanahan loves to do with the motion and formations and all that. That's West Coast offense. That's thinking in 3D chess and making the defense think in 3D chess. And most defensive guys don't know what 3D is.
Well, that's exactly it. Coach Graham talks about just the simple fact, here with the defense coordinator for the Raiders, just simply IDing the ball carrier, using stack and shed fundamentals, right? And so, again, when you're going against a zone blocking scheme, a power-based run scheme, if you're just mano y mano, it's a little bit more simpler. But when you're going against a zone blocking scheme, the run blocking is already dictated. You just have to get to the spot, and you have to do a really good job of winning your leverage. So it's not easier. It's just a different type of a mindset that you have to have. In fact, you have to be athletic, right? Like you almost have to be like a tight end. There's like 5 tight ends on the offensive line. That's the movement skills that you have to have from a zone blocking team. Am I correct? More times than not?
Yeah. Yeah, especially that outside zone. That outside zone can be nuts, and it puts a lot of stress on your lineman's athletic ability. And then you add into that some of the counter stuff they like to run, where they're pulling the backside guard and then pulling that tight end behind him, and using him as that power blocker, or even using the fullback filling in behind as the second guy on the counter. It can drive inside reads nuts. Linebackers see a lot of stuff, and one thing they don't like to see is stuff. They like reads.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what's interesting is, I talked to some coaches around the league, and they're like so firm on one versus the other on why it's better or why it's worse. I think both can be very good if used properly. So like I'm not in the mindset that, oh, you have to play in a power-based run scheme in order to make the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That's something that's just stupid to me. I think because think about it this way: if you're the Golden State Warriors and you're a run and shoot basketball team, are you going to say, "Oh, Steph Curry doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame because he didn't play defense"? No,
Yeah.
because do you get what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah.
people have this
Yeah.
stupid mindset, and stupid's a strong word, but it is stupid
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, it's like they're not seeing what for it really is, and they're outside the box thinking and conforming their own thoughts and doing exactly what they think is right and fitting a narrative that they feel is the end all be all without listening to any other person's perspective on the why. It really
Yeah.
holds no substance.
Well, we were outliers during a couple decades where the term that the most prevalent run schemes was smash mouth football.
Yep.
And there were teams, and granted, there were Skins and Bears and Giants and teams like that were winning world titles, just caveman run games, just beating the crap out of people. We just didn't choose to do that. And I think that's one thing that you still see now in the league. There are several teams that still have that I am just going to maul you kind of
Yep.
attitude. And then you've got the teams like the Niners and the Chiefs. And I would put Philly's kind of an interesting mix between the two, because they can maul you, but they can also move around and do that goofy stuff that I think keeps everybody from getting bored.
The Eagles are very interesting. And again, Nick Sirianni is very good at this. Like he can do a mix and match. And like you said, with Jason Kelsey there as center, oftentimes the center position gets overlooked because people don't view that as a premium position. But make no mistake, I think it's one of the most important positions on the football field because they're the one making the line calls pre to post snap.
Yeah.
You played center. Can you talk about how hard it is to just not only know your assignment, but the other people around you and their assignment? And on top of that, knowing what the defense is going to do. Again, talking about the why.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing is you've got to be able to, and you're don't always have the luxury of the point of view that the guy behind you has. He's standing up there the whole time, and he's always looking, and you've got to be able to read coverages by what you see in feet. You see where the safety's feet are. You see where the corners out there's feet are. You see where the linebackers, the difference in how they're stacking back a little bit and they're not up on the line like they normally would be, or the inside guys are a little shaded, and what that means from your film study and what coverages that relates to and what that means for your protections. People who don't appreciate the center position usually don't have one on their team. That's real notable. And honestly, this is a game that, over the last 30 years, let's say, there have probably been, real exceptional centers, a handful. Guys that were just grown-ass men and that were really, really smart and did it all. And then there's a whole bunch of guys that were solid as heck. And that's what you really want. You would aspire to draft a Dwight Stevenson. You would aspire to draft a Mike Webster. You'd aspire to draft, one of those guys. But you get somebody really, really solid and that gets your offense and has that kind of simpatico. How about those great NFL films on the sidelines between Peyton Manning and Jeff Saturday? That is your classic quarterback center relationship, because they're both they have very strong opinions.
For sure. Oh, for sure. Did you have any type of that dynamic with the great, obviously, Joe Montana? What was playing with him like, and did you guys ever butt heads?
On occasion. Usually has something to do with letting somebody hit him. But yeah, it's only natural. It really, really is. That happens. That kind of stuff happens all the time. The interesting part sometimes is when you look at something and you'll make a call and he'll correct you. And then you kind of look around and look at him and make the same call again. And he'll correct you again. So I don't know. It happens. It's something that's the dynamic. He's kind of like the coach on the field, so he's always the last guy holding the eraser.
Yeah. During those glory days, some people will say, you're on some great dynasty teams, right? Like, your offensive line that you played with over the course of the years, which line which line do you say was not maybe the best, but the most, had the most team chemistry? Like, which year was that for you? Where you said, man, this position unit, we had the best team chemistry.
I would say the 84 team, 84 line.
Okay.
Yeah, that was pretty special.
And who was on that line?
That was Bubba Paris, John Ayers, Fred Quillen, myself, and Keith Fahnhorst.
Okay.
And Ayers and Quillen and Fahnhorst and I, Fred got there in 77. John and I got there in 76, and Keith got there in 75. So we suffered through some pretty bad years. But when Bill Walsh took over that team in 79, in a lot of ways, he had kind of a luxury, and he drafted some linemen. He tried to replace us. He just couldn't do it. He had 4 starters on the offensive line from the day he walked in the building, and that was pretty lucky, at least in my humble opinion.
Yeah. One of those things that we talk about is, the great Eddie DeBartolo, right? Can you just talk about, the great? I got a chance to meet him one time. I would tell you this, in my personal experience and my feeling meeting with Eddie D was, he's very humble. Like, you would never know his background, his story. Like, he's not the type that would flaunt his money around. He's very, very humble. Can you just shed some light on Eddie DeBartolo? Because not enough people talk about him enough. I honestly think he's the greatest NFL owner in all of sports. But talk about Eddie D and what he means to you and still means to you today.
Yeah, he meant the world to me and Patrice, my wife, and our family, and he's just an incredible person. I couldn't say enough good things about Eddie. Besides being a damn good owner, he was a hard owner to coach for. He was a hard owner to play for. Because once he got a taste of winning, which was what he always did on the business side, and once that became business and sports he was winning at, that's the only thing that would satisfy him. So, he was miserable when we lost. He was miserable to be around when we lost. But luckily, we didn't do a whole lot of that. But I think one of my favorite stories about Eddie that I used to tell people all the time, and people always talk about his old parties where he, took the teams to Hawaii and
Yep.
did all that crazy stuff. And
I was going to bring it up. But you did
yeah,
already.
but they talk about that, and that was really, really cool. We had a safety who was one of the hardest hitting guys. He was Steve Atwater before Steve Atwater.
Whoa, who was that?
He came out of Texas A&M. His name was Jeff Fuller.
Okay.
And Jeff Fuller used to just splatter people. Just crazy, and a big cat too. Well, they're playing a game. It was, I believe, 89, and it was after the earthquake. So they couldn't play in Candlestick. They had to play down at Stanford.
Okay.
And Jeff hit somebody just that different way and fractured his neck, paralyzed one arm. And Eddie just quietly agreed to pay him X amount for the rest of his life.
Oh, wow.
Just basically said, you gave up your body for me. I'm going to take care of you. And that very low key. He was in a lot of ways. And I'll be honest. Was there a lot of stuff about Eddie that was low key? No, he was pretty high profile.
Yeah.
But he was like Al Davis. He and Al would do things, and people find out that about Al and about Eddie all the time. They go, they did that. He had a gigantic heart, and that's probably, I'll always remember that about him. His generosity, his heart, and how family oriented he was.
Yeah, I think it's very, very, very good to have a family-oriented organization. And I think coming from the 49ers and having that vibe, and now coming here to Las Vegas Raiders, there's really no drop-off in production from that perspective. I really feel the family-oriented vibe, that they really care about the players first as people, more so than the player, right? And I think that goes much more, that holds more weight, especially when you actually look for the person's best interest rather than what they can do for you or what have you done for me lately. I know that NFL is a business, but at the end of the day, there's a humanistic approach to it. And I think the Raiders do a very good job at that. And so do the 49ers. Let's go ahead and talk about some other things. Obviously, OTAs are coming in. So with the Niners, you know how we do with the Niners. I'm there at OTAs all the time. Mandatory mini camp, I'm there. Rookie mini camp, I'm there. With the Raiders, they do it a little bit differently. So we only have certain days that we can attend. So tomorrow will actually be my first time attending OTAs this off season. So with that being said, is there anything that if you were in my shoes, what would you look for in the first day here as the off season program takes off?
I look for, obviously the number one thing that everyone's going to want to know, I think about it, that team right now, is that kind of chemistry between the quarterback and his receivers.
Yep.
Sort of the chemistry, also the simpatico going up front, and I'd say on both sides of the line of scrimmage, because there's no team in the NFL that's better equipped to rush from the outside than the Raiders. But are you going to be able to flush those birds with the guys inside without producing some sort of a blitz or something inside? And that I'm kind of curious about them. But rightfully so. There's going to be a lot of attention on Jimmy G, and he'll flash those pearly whites, him, and he'll look pretty. He'll have his designer clothes, and he'll be the man.
Yeah, it's funny. I asked you that question, and I hopped on 2 live streams, and then I told people what I was going to expect and what I was going to go into, and you just hit the same exact thing that I talked about. I must have learned it from you, Randy.
I'm really curious though about how he gets along and how far along they are in that chemistry with the receivers, because that's a you can't overstate how important that is.
Right? The timing between just off, okay, where do you like the ball? of course, like, okay, you have to throw away from the body, away from the defender. I mean, that's kind of common sense. But I mean, like, where do you like the ball? Do you like it slightly in front of you? Do you like it on the numbers, especially when you're coming off your route on a quick slant as opposed to a post route? I mean, all these different things and layers have to come into it because each receiver likes different things. Obviously, you don't want to throw behind the receiver. You want to throw it in stride in front, but on the proper shoulder. But there's a lot of things that go into it. And I think that's the most important thing when I look at OTAs. Whenever I see a new quarterback going into a new system with a new wide receiver skill players or whatever the case may be, is what does that timing look? What does that team chemistry look like? I mean, we just talked about team chemistry along the offensive line, but what's the team chemistry along the lines of quarterback, wide receiver, quarterback, tight end dynamic? And what does that look like? Because I'll tell you what, if you have a good quarterback, but the wide receivers can't run a route to save their life and don't know how to run those routes, and then now the timing's thrown off, and now you get into training camp, and then all of a sudden you see a Trent Sherfield. Remember we saw Trent Sherfield with the Niners, like he was like a fifth string, then ultimately started week 1. And then he was benched a few weeks later, and then Brandon Ayuk got his rise. But are we going to see another one of those situations? Like, we don't know. So I'm really eager to see how this dynamic plays out, because the Raiders have Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, and let's face it, Hunter Renfrow could be on his way out. I talked about this earlier on. There's other beat writers that reported it before me. But then there's, they drafted Trey Tucker in the 3rd round. So where does he exactly fit, like, into the system? I just don't see you draft a guy in the 3rd round just to be a primary return specialist. I think you kind of see some vision in him where you can say, hey, this guy can line up in the slot and take over Hunter Renfrow. But yeah, what is your take on, the dynamic in general when it comes to the Las Vegas Raiders, as far as like how many wins or losses they're going to have this season? Have you had the chance to look at the schedule yet?
Yeah, a little bit. I saw what the hometown prognosticators were expecting out of them as far as their plus and minus. I don't know. In that division, realistically, are they, Sean Payton's the wild card as to what's going to happen with Denver, what they're going to be like. They're going to be better with Sean Payton. But the Raiders are probably right now going into it the 3 team. What does that make you record-wise? Make you somewhere around 500 as a number 3 team in the AFC West? And that's whereabouts I think they are right now, unless something happens, something catches fire with them.
I agree with you. I think, and I told the nation this, I said, the empire wasn't built in a day, right? Before Mr. Davis went on record and said that, I said it this time last year, because I kind of knew. People were like, oh, we're coming off a playoff. You're new. You don't know anything. I was like, watch. I'm not trying to say that this team doesn't have the potential to be good, but I just don't see a playoff team right now. They just don't have the horses. And then other people that I work with disagreed. I was like, okay, well, teach their own. Obviously, fast forward, they make the playoffs. And as much as I want them to, it's not what I want. It's just how I see things playing out. This time around, I see the same exact dynamic where the strength of schedule that they have, it ranks among the toughest schedules on the NFL roster or NFL teams. So it's like, okay, you got top 10 strength of schedule that you're facing against. All these other teams got better in the AFC West. The AFC West is always going to be a power because you have the Chiefs there. I mean, you're not going to, it's going to take a miracle to upset the Chiefs. I hope it happens, but let's be honest about it. And then when you talk about them being a 500 team, that's exactly what I see. I see them winning maybe 9 games. And I think that's a win. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Here's the thing, Randy. The nation are going to call for Coach McDaniels' head after a 9-win season based off this schedule. And I think that's unfair because, again, coaches coach and players play. Yes, the coaches are the ones that put their players in the best position to make plays, but it's up to the players to make those plays. If you don't have the players to make those plays, you're not going to call plays where putting these players in a bind. So at the end of the day, it comes down to what we know. And what we know is what you talked about, right? New quarterback, new system, new skill players that are added to the roster. How's this offensive line on the right side going to shape up? And again, how's this defensive line going to shape up? Because as you know, games are won in the trenches. So to that respect, in that regard, what is your take on Coach McDaniels having another subpar 500 season? Do you think that's fair for the Raider Nation to call for his head after 2 years with the rosters that he had in both those seasons?
Well, fair's got nothing to do with it, because that's not just how it works. A lot of the times it's in the coaching business, it's a matter of who else is available. If you have a decent year, but your owner wants somebody that's out there, that's you, unfortunately. I think the bright side from that regard, we talk about this 500 thing for Josh. You got the NFC North, and the NFC North, no Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. Everybody's darling this year is the Detroit Lions, which is usually not a good sign. So, which means they're probably 6-11. The Vikings, I think the Vikings are going to be tough, but that's not a team that you guys can't go toe to toe with. I don't know. We use that term all the time about, is it fair to people? That's the way. That's the reality. He's going to have to be 500 or better to have any kind of a fair footing, if you will, or equal footing for 2024 going forward.
No, I know life isn't fair. The NFL stands for not for long. I get it. I just think that from a coaching perspective, it's just really tough to pull out wins when you just don't have the personnel. And as fair as unfair as that is, Randy, you cannot win football games if you can't keep up with the other team's top talented players, or the team. You don't have to have the top talented team. It's just the team that has the best chemistry. I will take a team that has the best team chemistry over a team of all pros any day of the week.
Well, look. There's a lot of ways to look at this, but when you're building a team, you've got to build a team that is to your stadium, to your field, to where you play. Your team's got to be built for those circumstances, that field, that surface, that everything about it. Number two, you got to play like that in your division. Your division is a flipping beast,
right?
And I'm not telling you anything. I mean, that division is sick.
Yeah, I know.
So, if you're just okay, hell, if you're just good, you're going to lose ground in that division. So, I think that's got to be considered and factored into it too. Just sort of where is this team and where is this organization relative to the Kansas Cities of the world, relative to the Chargers of the world? That's not even bringing the Buffaloes and the rest of them into the picture.
Yeah, absolutely. If you guys want to follow Randy Cross, you can follow him at Randy Cross FB. All right, Randy, here's something. I don't know if you heard about this. Davante Adams went on the Ringer, and there's a lot of golden nuggets here. Did you hear what happened with Davante Adams in the Ringer story?
No, I didn't.
Oh my gosh, I should have sent it to you before we hopped on. All right, so I'm going to read you some quotes, all right, from Davante Adams, and tell me what you think they mean, all right? So this is in regards to the Raiders' vision for the offense, okay? He says, the front office, and I quote, Davante Adams says, the front office thinks this is the best bet for us right now to put us in a position to be urgent, he says. We don't see eye to eye on what we think is best for us right now. So that it was in regards to the Raiders' vision for the offense, meaning, I mean, if you read between the lines, Jimmy Garoppolo, right?
Right.
And then he says, at some point, I'm going to sit there. Or here's another thing that he said. I'm going to go ahead and read it to you. Well, first of all, what does that mean when a player goes out and says, we don't, from a front office perspective, I don't see eye to eye with what they're doing?
Unless they consulted him about that circumstance, I'm not sure they really care what he thinks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's very unusual that a player would understand what it is they're trying to do from a front office personnel standpoint. The older I've gotten, the more I've come to kind of appreciate that. But I think there's a lot of emotion in some of the stuff he's saying, without a doubt. I mean, remember where he came from. Remember kind of quote unquote why he came to Vegas. And suddenly why he came to Vegas is no longer in Vegas.
Right. Right. He talked about that. He said, it's a little bit different when it's one of your good friends. He said you almost get numb to it a little bit in terms of like people moving on and what forth. But here's something that he also said, and this is something that's concerning. I talked to Devontae Adams throughout the year about this, about players not buying into the Raider way and whatever. He said this, all right, through the ringer. All right. He says, I'm going to have to buy into this and try to be as optimistic as possible. It's not what I expected to happen, but it's something that's the reality now. So obviously he's talking about, if I'm reading between the lines, I'm just assuming here, but he's talking about obviously the offensive vision. I mean, you're talking about Jimmy Garoppolo. You're talking about losing Derek Carr. You're talking about how you're going to have to buy in, like from a leader, from a team captain perspective. Like if you're a team captain and you're saying that I'm going to have to buy into this and try to be as optimistic as possible from a team captain perspective, I like that. But I'm not so sure I would go on record saying that, because now people are looking at this and saying, do you really believe in Jimmy Garoppolo, or what do you talk? Like, what is the substance here? Like, what does this mean?
Yeah. It sort of reeks a little bit of, I wouldn't mind not being here.
Right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. So, it's also one of the products. We talk about the games different. Man, the whole thing about social media and the way the media is treated in general is so different than it was, years ago. You just didn't quite see it quite as much. And sometimes the paychecks give you a little bit of a break when it comes to that. And he may or may not be in one of those categories where you can probably speak your mind a little bit more freely.
Yeah, but here's another thing about this, right? So I'm going to read you the second part of this. He says, my goal is to win the Super Bowl with this team, and that's why I didn't come here to just be cute with Derek Carr. It is to really try and have a shot and change this organization. So he's almost having conflicting thoughts. Here's the funny thing about this. Not 30 minutes after I talked about on my live stream, he posted a Instagram picture with him and GM Dave Ziegler, and he wrote the title, The Man. Is that collateral damage or damage control? I should say not collateral damage, but damage control, because he knew what he said. And I mean, it was going viral here in Las Vegas.
Like a preemptive strike.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if he,
a little bit.
I don't know if he actually, here's the thing. When I saw this, I was like, I can't believe, certain things. I mean, players tell me things all the time. I don't go out and write about it. Right. Like, unless, now, I don't know. Obviously, they wrote it. I'm not saying he didn't say it, but I'm just like, wow, this is some good stuff. Like, not good stuff. Like, I was like, oh, I'm going to now I can make headlines out of it because I'm not the one that wrote it, but I do have to talk about it as a beat writer. It is concerning because here I am trying to think like, okay, a team captain, he's going to have to try to buy into this now. And he's not in line with the front office seeing eye to eye on the offensive vision. But then he wants to stay here and win the Super Bowl. So that's kind of conflicting thoughts there, right? Like you're fighting with yourself, trying to be. It's almost like you want to be with somebody, but it's bad for you, but you still want to be with somebody. Does that make sense?
You're a reporter, so that frustrates you because he's doing your job and his job at the same time.
Yeah, no, that's true. And Randy, you know where we're going with this. And here's the thing: it's like you're right. Social media is so different than when you were playing, because before it was just the newspaper. We talked about that, and we talked how the newspapers are dying now, and more it's just like this, YouTube, vlogging, and these shorts and all this stuff, right? And so, and with Twitter and social media being the way it is today, it's like, it's almost bad to be on social media these days. I have to do it because it's part of my job. But if I didn't have to do it, I wouldn't be on it either. Because I think there's just so much stuff that you can just instantly gravitate toward, and you think there's a lot of fake stuff too, and you call that as fact. Don't you miss the newspaper days?
Yeah, to some degree. I do. Because like you say, it wasn't 100% the truth, but it was much more fact-based.
Yes.
It wasn't now the mantra of today in your business is being first. Not
Please
being
talk
right.
about that. Please talk about that.
Not
Yes.
being right. If you're first, you can always apologize. If you're first, you always take credit. If you're first, there's a lot of advantages of being first, and there's not a whole lot of downside, because if you're wrong, it's kind of like, nobody remembers that.
That's why I have my beast receipts, because I like calling myself when I get it right and calling myself out when I get it wrong. Rarely am I wrong, though. But I'm not always the first, right? Like, you never, coming from the Niners, you never saw me like being the first to break news, right? I was never the news breaking guy. I mean, I'll break a few stories here and there. I know a few things that happened here with the Raiders that I didn't break, right? I was just like, I'm going to keep this close to my vest, because, I'm not 100,000% sure it's going to happen. So I'm not going to report it. Nowadays, you don't even have to be a beat writer to just say stuff and then hope it sticks. You know what I'm saying? Because there's no one to check in. There's no checks and balances for those people.
No. The old just throw it on the wall and see if it sticks that's kind of your business in a nutshell.
Jeez, that's why people follow me. They know I tell them I only have 24 hours in a day. I choose to do what I want to do with the 24 hours, and hopefully it's the most accurate information that I can put out there from my perspective.
Exactly.
Because people are talking. Dude, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's goofy, and being on the TV side still, I've always got to kind of temper what I say about things, because I can get a little bit torqued off about things on occasion when it comes to the subject. Because everybody want that guy in the information guy, that's sort of going to lay it out there, and you sit there and you watch the pre-games and you watch some of this stuff and you kind of shake your head and you go, okay, don't say anything. The repercussions at times are kind of absent, and that's too bad, but that's kind of where we find ourselves.
Yeah, it is. It's a different time. Randy, I just want to say before we hop off, thank you so much for tuning in, spending time out of your schedule to meet with us and discuss with us. People don't know. Here's a funny thing: is I have a it's called Don't Miss a Beat from the Beat, where I have every Thursday I have a beat writer on with me. And I want to get a beat writer on with me. The problem that people don't understand is this is our 9 to 5. So for me to have someone on it's like, hey man, like, I'm on your channel all the time. Are you going to start paying me?
Yeah,
like, this
exactly.
is our 9 to 5. So I say I value their time. So it's like, from my perspective, it's almost like I value their time. So I don't want to, you know what I'm saying, right? Like, I think from people in today's society, because we're a beat writer, we're not a content creator. But from a beat writer perspective, this is our job. This is our 9 to 5. So we make money off of this. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like, for me to have someone to hop on, it's like, hey, can you hop on again and again and again and again? It's like, come on. At some point it has to be, okay, dude, when are you going to start giving me some bread?
Hey, Ryan, I know my next trip to Vegas, I've got a all-you-can-eat buffet at the Golden Nugget in my future.
Oh, let's go. Yeah, that's on me. Hey, when are you going to come here?
I don't know. I'll let you know when I get my schedule.
Yeah, let me know. And then it'd be good. It'd be good to catch up and everything in between. But no, thank you so much, Randy. I appreciate it, my guy.
All right. I'll be in touch, man.
All right, bud. All right, that was Randy Cross, everyone. You guys know who he is. Great time. The audio was working fine. The visual was not. That's what happened. Same thing with Heidi Fang, right? When I was on her Vegas Nation podcast, right? Her visual wasn't working, but the audio was working. So again, people think what we do is easy. It's not. The setup here is different. If you notice on this side of the shade, it's a little bit more lighting because I bought this extra ring light that came in today. I'm going to be playing around with the background from all the super chats and super stickers that we've been getting over the course of doing these live streams, because I wanted to make it look as professional as possible, because this is my 9 to 5. And so again, I think that's really cool with what we have going on as far as, like, the Raiders stuff going on, the Al Davis Raider Nation stuff going on. And people are asking me, hey, you have to wear Raiders stuff, man. Like, you're part of the Raider Nation. Let me just go ahead and tell you this. No beat writer wears their NFL team's close. Like I never did with the 49ers when I was a beat writer. I never did it with the Raiders now that I'm a beat writer. It's just like, it's kind of like one of those things where we just don't do that. Or I can't speak, here's another thing. I can't speak for anyone else. Maybe someone else does do that. I haven't seen it, and I can only speak for myself. I don't do that. And again, it's just kind of like one of those things that, from a beat writer perspective, it's a little bit different than a content creator. If I was a content creator, yeah, I can wear, if I was covering like the Alabama Roll Tide roll, right, and I was a beat writer, I probably wouldn't be wearing Alabama stuff. I'd be wearing, Raiders stuff or whatever. So it's just a little bit different dynamic that we have going there, because there's some questions saying, oh, you need to wear some Raider swag so people know that you're a Raider fan. And I'm like, I'm not a Raider fan. I'm a beat writer. I want them to do well. I want them to go 17-0 and go to the Super Bowl every single year. All right. But at the end of the day, it's like, there has to be some kind of line drawn. So that's where we draw the line here in the DOB. But good show today. It's talking Randy Cross. We're talking about OTAs. I'm going to open it up to you guys if you guys have any questions, or if you guys want to send me a super chat. We've been on for 55 minutes and 53 seconds. Feel free to go ahead and do that and support me. Also, there's 19 people liking this right now and watching the video. Give this video a thumbs up if you like what I have to bring on the daily when it comes to your silver and black content. Mika from Germany, thank you so much. I got another super thanks from you. Thank you, Mika from Germany. You always come into class. Mika from Germany, every single day. I wake up, get a notification on my phone. Mika from Germany send you a super thanks, because we're on different time zones. Mika from Germany, hey, I tell you what, if you ever make the trip out here, dinner's on me, man. That's all I got to say. Dinner's on me. All right. A lot of good stuff coming on. I'll get to some of your questions. I'm going to be toggling back and forth in regards to today's live stream and what to expect. Look, I think that's a huge thing that we need to discuss, and we talked about it yesterday. OTAs, right? What is going on with the OTAs, right? Tomorrow's going to be OTAs for the Raiders, and we get our first glimpse, right, from a media availability standpoint, which is really, really cool. Just giving us that availability, I think, is a really, really cool thing that they're doing. So, the Raiders OTAs is tomorrow. Media availability will be there tomorrow. I'm going to let you guys know the schedule. All right. So again, the schedule for tomorrow is as follows. At approximately 9 a.m. in the morning, we will have Coach McDaniels in the workroom, right? Workroom meaning where I work. They come to us. The players and coaches come to us. That's why you see us in the podium area. That's where we work. Like that's kind of like the office where all the beat writers work. And so that's why I clock in every time when I do the Aloha kickoff video and I enter through the doors to the left. That's where we work. All right. And the players will come to us and the coaches will come to us in that room. Unless we're going to the locker room or somewhere else on game days at Allegiant Stadium. But that's kind of where the dynamic works as far as players, coaches being interviewed. All right. Same thing with Jimmy Garoppolo earlier this year. Same thing with all the free agents like Robert Spillane, Jacoby Myers. You guys get the picture. It's been that way since I became a beat writer last year. So really cool setup that they have in there. That will be at 9 a.m. with Coach McDaniels at 10:15 to 12:15. So we have a 2-hour practice window where we can photograph, take videos, and I'll be posting those YouTube videos that y'all come to love about training camp and what that means in OTAs. And again, that will circle around for 2 hours of time frame. So I'll go ahead and post those up and edit those for you guys. Again, there's a lot of back end work that I have to do with making these videos, making it sure that it's crisp, clear. Sometimes if there's people cursing in the background, whether it be people in the media, I mean, there's it rarely happens, but it happened before. And I was like, oh man, I have to cut this out because there's kids watching it. So I had to clip it, had to make a soundbite. It's a long process. These videos that I make and curate from a practice video can take anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 hours for one of these videos. So I really, really take a lot of time and effort in making those. Be sure to like it and be sure to spread the word to all your family and friends about the dark side of Beastwriter here in Beast Nation. And as we go ahead and grow this podcast that we have, the Pick Six segment, the Don't Miss a Beat from the Beat segment, and the Fourth and Goal segment. I mean, all these 3 podcasts all wrapped up into one. We're really doing a really cool thing. And again, I do a lot for you guys. I put on the captions on so you guys can kind of see what I have to say for all you people that can't really hear, but you can see. right? And so we have people like that. And so I put on the captions on, and so you guys can kind of see what I have to say there. There's articles written on the community page, also in the comments section on Instagram and YouTube. So I post those there. Again, on any given day, I write 30 or 45 articles. And again, it's specifically answering your question to what the topic of discussion is being discussed. And again, that's where the social media engagement is encouraged. And again, you can get all that here on YouTube. So again, we're trying to grow. We're trying to get to 10K. Let's just start off with 6K. All right. Baby steps, right? Baby steps equal big gains. All right. So let's get to 6,000 subscribers, and we're 800 off of that. So let's try to get to 600 subscribers, 6,000 subscribers, to say, and we're 800 away from that. So how do we do that? Well, spread the word to all your family and friends. Tell them to like the channel and subscribe to the YouTube channel here on YouTube, and follow me on all the social media in the description box below. Also, if you guys want to send me a super chat, feel free to do so. You guys can do that here on YouTube. Also, of every video, whether you're watching the replay or live stream like you are now, there is a Venmo link that you guys can donate. And again, it's all posted there for you. So again, a lot of cool stuff going on here. Edgar V says, what's good, bro? What's going on, Edgar? How are you doing today? And again, people are wondering probably why I'm doing this a little bit earlier instead of at 6 p.m. It's because Randy is on the Eastern time zone. He lives in Atlanta, Georgia. So again, when we're on the Georgia, it's East Coast time. So right now for him, it's 9 o'clock. So it's already late for Randy. So again, that's why we hopped on a little bit earlier for him. Because again, I want to have these guests on talking about their perspective. You guys know what I bring to the table, but let's get someone else's perspective. And I want every beat writer on here. I do. Generally, I want all beat writers on here. But again, you have to value their time. They have families, they have kids, they have other obligations and priorities. So, yeah, we have to be mindful of that, right? We have to be respectful and mindful of that. In a perfect world, hey, I'd want all the beat writers on every single day with me, right? I'd want to do like 7-8 people all on the same time. That'd be dope. But they also have other jobs. So again, I think the problem that we're having is you guys see what I'm doing and think that everyone's on the same wavelength, but they're not, because everyone has different priorities and different responsibilities. And so, like I said, man, what you get here in the DOB may be a little different flavor than what someone else may bring to the table. Like I said, this is not my 9 to 5. It's my 24/7, right? It's my 24/7, 365. And I'm living proof of that, because here we are in the off season, and I could be at the gym right now working out. Instead, I'm hopping on a live stream, having my guy Randy Cross on me, talking all things silver and black. And again, I wanted to bring a different perspective from a player perspective who played at the highest level. These aren't just like no-name players. I mean, Randy should be in the Hall of Fame. This is not good. He's in the College Football Hall of Fame, of course. He should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But yeah, here we are, right? 2-time Super Bowl champion, and brought and shed light on a lot of cool stories, including Eddie DeBartolo and Al Davis. So again, really cool. My guy Daniel Kim says, salute DOB fam. Big day tomorrow. Looking forward to the discussion tonight. Oh, Daniel Kim, you missed Randy Cross at 5 p.m. I forgot to tell you. Should have told you. Yeah, Randy was on at 5 p.m. earlier today. We already been on for an hour and 3 minutes. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the discussion too. Since you're just tuning in, thank you so much, DK. I should have told you that, man. Yeah, I'm pretty sure people are going to be tuning in like DK. I should have put it up on the community page. That's my fault. I should have put up on the community page that, that we should have rescheduled it to 5 p.m. or that we did reschedule it to 5 p.m. I apologize for that. DK says, I'll go. I'll watch the run back. Oh, man. All right. So again, we have a lot of cool things going on today. Let's just go ahead and talk about what we're doing here in the DOB. We're talking about Raiders OTAs, media availability. I'm going to be breaking down Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, I covered him with the 49ers. I kind of have, let's just face it, I've been dialed in since the moment he was signed on what to look for. All right. So they're probably not going to give me much. Like, oh, Beastwriter's here coming from the Niners. There's not joking. They're not going to say that. Jimmy Garoppolo, that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to, obviously, Devontae Adams. I'm looking forward to Devontae Adams. Going to be Devontae Adams. I mean, but I just think it's cool filming the best player in football from his position, the wide receiver position. He's the best player in football. I'm sorry. In my opinion, he's the best wide receiver in the game, Devontae Adams. So love Devontae Adams. I want to get a piece of him. See what he has to say. Seeing if he's buying into, the offense, seeing how he kind of talks or his body language with Jimmy Garoppolo. I'll be looking at that, right? Like, okay, so are they working on things? Are they talking? Or, because let's just be honest, man. We all remember the TO days. All right, come on. Great football player. But Devontae Adams ain't no TO, all right? In terms of like, he's not going to cause problems. You know what I'm saying? He's not like that. He's very true professional. But I'm just eager to see that dynamic work because, again, he went on the ringer and said he has to buy into the offense now. That's the reality of the situation. Is he has to buy into it, whether he wants it or not. He's here. So the vision for the offense, whatever that vision was, they weren't seeing eye to eye, right? Him in the front office. So we're going to see how this goes. It's going to be a topic of discussion throughout the whole entire year. And let me tell you something. When things go well and they start winning, no, everyone shuts up. But when things go bad and sours, and then the body language comes into play, and then the arguing on the sideline comes in play. You remember Darren Payne from the Washington Commanders, who, by the way, may have to change their name if you haven't heard the news on that. But remember Darren Payne and who was it? Jonathan Allen. They got into like a punching match on the sideline. If I remember correctly, go look it up. I believe those two players got into it, and they're both Roll Tide role players. Got into it on the sideline. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like you can be boys, but when times are bad, things can heat up. Not saying that violence, I'm just saying that's a little extreme. Daniel Kim says, all good. I'll watch it on the runbacks. Daniel Kim says, support the run to 10K and the 24/7 grind. Yeah, definitely do that. Thank you so much, DK, for posting my Venmo up there at Beastwriter. You already know. Oh, Edgar has a good question. He says, can you see us moving from JJ and or Hunter Renfrow? Definitely Hunter Renfrow. Definitely. I'd be lying to you if I didn't think that JJ would be a topic of discussion because he didn't sign his tender. If he holds out, what happens? Oh, he's not going to hold out. Why would he not hold out? Like, you're the best running back in the league. You're still unpaid because you ain't signed on the dotted line yet. So why would you risk playing on a 1-year, $10.1 million tender, getting injured because the running back position is short-lived compared to others, and then lose out on that long-term deal that you otherwise earned in 2022? I'm just saying. I'm looking at it from Josh Jacobs' perspective. If I was Josh Jacobs, I'd be like, I ain't signing this 10.1. I'm sorry. Because the ball is in whose court right now? Is the ball in the Raiders' court or is the ball in Josh Jacobs' court? Because life without Josh Jacobs is a very scary thought. And we all know that Jimmy Garoppolo needs Josh Jacobs because he is a game manager, which is not a bad thing. I love game managers. I take a game manager any day of the week as long as you win me football games. But that's for a different story. But let's not get it twisted that life without Josh Jacobs is going to be a very scary thought, even with Zeus White being and could be the future. Because we don't know what we don't know. And what we don't know is we don't know what Zeus White can bring to the table. Now, are you willing to risk that type of investment, especially when you have a quarterback who has not proven to be durable over the course of the last few years and banking on basically a rookie, right? Let's be honest about it. Zeus White be considered a rookie coming into this year. I mean, Breece Hall had more snaps than Zeus White before he tore his ACL, right? So, same thing with Javonte Williams. So there's a lot of different things that we can look at this. I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be interesting. But ultimately, if I had to pick between one or the other, I'd say Hunter Renfrow moves on before JJ. Edgar V said, what's the word on Marcus Peters? Nothing. That's why I'm not talking about him. No word on Marcus Peters. Space Chimp says, salute fam. What's going on? What is going on? And again, we've been on for 1 hour and 9 minutes and 51 seconds, still looking for our first super chat. If you guys want to support me through a super chat and you have the means to do so, please support your boy. We're trying to get a better setup here for my background. So all the funds from the super chat that we get from our live streams will be dedicated going back into the channel for a professional setup behind me. So again, if you guys love the work and have the means to support your boy here on YouTube, please send me a super chat or super thanks or a Venmo donation, and the link is in the description box below. All right, we've been on for 1 hour, 10 minutes, and 24 seconds. 17 of you guys watching. If you guys can't do that, give this video a thumbs up. That is free 99. It doesn't cost a thing. Why I like it? A number of different reasons. One, it helps YouTube understand that you guys like the videos that I provide that are long-form content. Secondly, it will push this video as a recommended video to other like-minded nation like yourselves. And that way, that will help make me money because it'll be a recommended video. And once other nations see what we have to provide on our podcast, they're going to be hooked from the day one, and they'll then be a day one A1. All right. Makes sense. All right. So there's 27 likes, 19 people watching. Let's get those likes up right now before I go ahead and move on. Also, again, if you guys have questions or you want to be given a shout out, go ahead and shoot those super chats and super stickers over to me, and you will be heard. And then anybody else who has questions, I'll get to you guys second. Space Chimp says, what question do you have ready for JMD? I'm going to hold that close to the vest because I don't know who's watching this and may write this down. If you know what I mean. Thank you so much, D Menace in the clutch. He says, great interview, Beast. Thank you so much. We got our first super. We came through in the clutch with the first super chat. D Menace comes through the clutch again. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Look, I'm not gonna sit here and lie. It motivates me to hop on these live streams because I get super chats and super stickers from it. Because this is my 9 to 5. It also helps by you guys giving it a thumbs up, a like. A like goes a long way. So again, if you guys like me answering your questions, please send me a super chat, super sticker if you have the means to do so. If not, then at least tell 2 or 3 people about the DOB and have them subscribe to the channel. Do one or the other, right? That's all I'm asking, because I'm providing the valued content for all you guys, putting a lot of hard work and effort. And again, thank you so much. Oh, we got a Venmo donation. Carlos Torres. Thank you so much. He says, keep up the great work. Carlos Torres, thank you so much. I just got your Venmo donation, your $10 Venmo donation. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Carlos Torres, thank you so much for the Venmo donation. Yeah, you guys can do that. It's in the link in the description box below. Thank you, DK, for posting the Venmo link. We're going to be doing that more often. And again, the reason why I want these super chats is not so much for me to pocket this money. Obviously, this is my 9 to 5. It has to pay the bills, right? But no, I want a professional setup. And so all the funds that get channeled from the super chats and super stickers are going to be donated back into making our YouTube channel the best it can be. I want a professional looking background, right? So again, I like what I have here. This is not going to go away, but we can spice it up a little bit better, right? And how do we do that? Well, we need funds to do so. I'm a one-man show. I'm the lighting guy. I'm the sound check guy. I'm the live streaming guy. I am the content creator guy. I am the guy that answers the questions. I am the vetting process guy before we have a production meeting on who we have on and who we can't have on. I am the beat writer. I am the article writing guy. I am the social media engagement guy. I am everything, right? Ideally, in a perfect world, I would like to delegate these jobs. But again, I'm a one-man show because I am self-employed. So again, the only self-employed beat writer for the Las Vegas Raiders as we speak. And again, I wouldn't want to do it any other way. Did it this way with the 49ers. I know what I bring to the table. The problem is the nation don't know what I bring to the table because, again, we only have 5,200 subscribers, all right? So again, how do we get that number up? I'm telling you guys, if you guys want me to continue doing this, which I want to do it, spread the word to all your family and friends. And again, what's the benefit for you guys doing that? We run giveaways. Like, I'm not even a beat writer for the 49ers. I still give away my tickets to the Niner games. All right. So That's how we do it here. I'm always going to be one to give back to the fans and meet with you guys. Like D Menace. I met D Menace here. He was our first Beastwriter family giveaway. Bottom shots. He won the Raider Nation Rally Tell. Got him that. D Menace, by the way, what'd you do with my Raider Nation Rally Tell that I gave you for the Beastwriter family giveaway? Do you have it hanging up somewhere, or did you just kind of like, forget this towel? Now, I know you like, these towels are fire, man. I'm telling you, these towels, they're crazy. They're crazy. But thank you so much, D-Mass. I appreciate it. All right, we've been on for 1 hour, 15 minutes, and 4 seconds. All right. So, yeah, a lot of things that we can discuss. I'm going to hop off this live stream in a little bit, unless you have a super chat or super sticker that you guys want, or have questions that you guys want answered. But other than that, we're going to be hopping off this live stream because at the end of the day, I want to be prepared for tomorrow. So I got to do some more legwork on, of course, watching film, and then kind of having some ideas on which players may or may not be talking tomorrow. We don't have the list of players, so how can I prepare for something I don't know? Well, you do your due diligence. You just cover all 90 players and just figure it out. And then have a list, right? Because eventually they're going to talk. I think that'd be funny. D-Man says it's finally caught alive. Javier Ramirez says finally caught alive, though, even though I'm late. What's up, nation? All right. So D-Man says it's hanging up in my man cave. Oh, that's what's up. That is what's up. Javi Ramirez, salute to you, my guy. We're going to be hopping off this live stream right now. But again, thank you, everyone. Thank you, D-Man, for sending me a super chat. The Lone Soldier here today for the super chat. Thank you, Mika from Germany. Always sends me a super thanks on all the live streams on the replay. If you guys want to do that, like Mika from Germany, you guys can do that on the replay. It is a heart icon, and you guys can send me a super thanks for all the hard work and effort that I put into making these live stream videos, podcasts for all you guys. And again, if you guys can't support financially, I get it. Times are tough. I get that, right? Times are tough for me as well. Just give this video a thumbs up, spread the word to all your family and friends, and tell them to subscribe to my YouTube channel, right? That's free. That's not costing you a penny, literally, right? And so again, when you watch all my videos on the replay, or any video that you can watch on the replay, that also helps make me money, because again, it pushes the algorithm to YouTube as a recommended video, because it says, hey man, this video may have been made or created 3 months ago, but people are still watching it. So I challenge you guys to watch all my videos, because that's another way you guys can help me make money if you guys don't have the means to support through a super chat, super sticker, or a Venmo donation. Again, I want to keep doing this. And I want to keep doing this as my 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. We're going to keep doing this. And again, those super chats, super stickers will help, because once we have that professional background that I have a vision for, it's going to be lit. No pun intended. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you so much, D-Mens, for the super chat today. I really, really appreciate the kind words that you guys been showing me over the course of my first year covering the Silver Black as we enter year 2 officially tomorrow. I'll be breaking down all of the news, notes, and quotes from our Don't Miss a Beat from the Beat podcast. And hopefully we can have another beat writer on at 6 p.m. discussing what we saw today from the practice and what our thoughts are as far as what we were looking for before we even went into Raiders headquarters, and then actually at headquarters, and then what did Coach McDaniels say as it pertains to some of the questions that were being asked and how he answered those questions. So I'm pretty sure someone's going to ask some of these tough pressed questions, and he's just going to deflect, which is a good thing. If I was Coach McDaniels, I'd do the same exact thing. I'd be like, oh, yeah, cool. Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't see that. See, if you deflect that, then how can you have it? See, that's smart. That's smart. Love it. All right. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I'll be hopping back on tomorrow at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on our Don't Miss a Beat from the Beat podcast. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Have a good night. Beastwriter out.